Elvis, this is your first time on the channel. Are you going to say hello? How cute is this little outfit I've got? My mum got it for him. Nanny got it for you for Christmas. Guys, hello YouTube family. This is Elvis, my baby boy. So, I'm doing a video about you now. My labour and delivery story of how this little boy made it into the world. Elvis Ralph Carlos. Nice to meet ya. Say nice to meet ya. Guys, I have been meaning to film this video for so long. So long. I remember when I was pregnant, all I could watch, all I was into was labour and delivery stories. Before I was pregnant, I was obsessed with watching One Born Every Minute. I am obsessed with childbirth. So I was like 100% I'm going to film my labour and delivery story. I'm just going to get straight into the story and I'm going to be completely real about this, okay? Because this was a 26-hour labour. So if you're tuning in, grab a cup of tea and be prepared for a very long labour. Okay, so I'm going to start by like my thought process beforehand, because you have to do like a birth plan and stuff like that. I have a really strong or high pain threshold. I very rarely take any sort of pain relief. Even with my diet, everything, I like a more natural approach to things. So for me, it was like a no-brainer that I was going to be trying to have as natural of a labour as possible. I was really into the idea of having a water birth. I was a swimmer when I was younger. I still love to swim. Water really calms me. So again, I thought I'd really kind of enjoy having a water birth. I didn't really want a lot of intervention, so I really liked the idea of going to a birthing centre with no doctors and no hospital. I did consider having a home birth, but I just felt like for my first you know, birth experience, that just would have been a little bit overwhelming in case, you know, I was just expecting all hell on earth kind of pain, and I wouldn't know what was the right kind of pain or wrong. I wouldn't know. I had nothing to compare it to. So in my head, I just thought, you know what, I think I won't do the home birth, and maybe in the future I will do that. My pregnancy was low risk, so I was able to go to a birthing centre, and I chose to do that. In the lead up to this, I was also moving house, so I really should have changed hospital, but everything was just so crazy and so last minute, and I was doing this all in my 3rd trimester and having like decorating work and stuff, so it was just an intense time for me. So I'm just going to get right in and go to the story. So we're 2 weeks before my due date. So I'm 38 weeks, I'm at a family occasion, and I'm literally sitting there telling them, like, I'm going to have this baby. Like, I just know my body. The baby's coming early. I didn't want the baby to come early because we'd literally just moved in. We had so much stuff still to do, but I kind of was just like, the baby's coming early. I'd had my 38-week checkup, and they basically were like, the baby, what do they call, oh my god, baby brain is a real thing, guys. I'm going to be so, this is why I wanted to film this a lot sooner, because it's been 16 weeks now and my brain is like fuzzled. Is that even a word? Fuzzled. I was fully, not dilated, what's the word? The baby had dropped down. Oh, it's going to annoy me that I can't remember what the word is. The baby had dropped down. So they were like, this is really good for the fact you're a first timer. They were like, usually, you know, first timers are like late. They were, all my midwives kept saying, oh, you'll be 2 weeks over. You'll be like 10 days over, or whatever they were going to let me go to. They kind of just all had that approach to me. So when I had my 38-week check, 2 weeks before my due date, they were basically like, oh no, like the baby's dropped, like this is really good for a first timer. So I kind of was just like, I know the baby's coming early. And I remember being at a family occasion, a family barbecue, and we were all talking about it, and then they were like, no, I came late, I felt like that, I thought the baby was coming, I felt loads of pressure, I could barely walk. So then it kind of was like, oh, I don't know really, I don't have anything to compare it to. Literally that night, so this is the Sunday, that night I went home, my mum and sister was there, and I had my exercise ball, which, by the way, if you're watching this pregnant, you need that in your life. That bad boy was 20 quid from Amazon, and I swear to God, it was the best £20 I've ever spent. I was just like sitting, you're just so uncomfortable at that stage. When you're in the 3rd trimester, you're just pure uncomfortable. That was so comfy. I could just rock on it. I could get real in like a groove. So I was kind of sitting on that. I wasn't even bouncing. I wasn't trying to bring on labour or anything. In your 3rd trimester and that heavily pregnant, you just get aches and pains. And I'm very much a get on with it kind of person. I was kind of sitting there and I'd be like, I didn't even notice I was doing it. And my mum was like looking at me. She was like, little did I know, she was kind of timing this on her phone. And every time I was like, she was like, you know you did that 20 minutes ago. And I was just like, oh, you're so overreacting. Like, I was the most laid back pregnant woman. And I was just really like, yeah, whatever, I'm not scared, whatever, birth's so natural. So then she kept mentioning it. And then it was starting to like dawn on me that no, these are coming regular. And actually, this is a feeling I've never felt before. This was kind of a spreading, I'm doing this motion, spreading kind of feeling across the belly and the back. And they were coming more regular. It started coming 15 minutes, then it started coming every 10 minutes. And I would say they were uncomfortable. I don't think they were painful to the point that I knew it wasn't labour. And my other half was out. And I literally messaged him and I was like, Ken, babe, you know, I'm getting what seemed like very, very, very mild contractions. Don't panic, but I just wanted to know if you're on your way home because obviously mum and my sister want to go and they don't want to leave me alone. I told them to go. I said I was absolutely fine. When he got home, they definitely got worse. Throughout the night, they weren't painful enough that I was in agony, but I couldn't sleep. They were very uncomfortable. It was coming to early hours of the morning. I think I probably just about fell asleep. And then I woke up in the morning and it had completely stopped. Completely stopped, nothing. And I felt a little bit frustrated by that point. Once you start getting, and any woman that's had a long labour will tell you this, once you start getting those contractions, those feelings, you feel like you're going to have the baby, all you want is to have the baby. You're like, I can't keep doing this. I was like, right, I need to get a couple things done. I need to pop to Westfield. Can you take me? Because by this stage, you know, Ken was like, you're not driving. I was driving like a couple days before. So, you know, I don't think he even knows that, but I just did anyway. Because I was like, oh, the baby's not coming. But he was like, no, you're not driving. You've actually had like something that's like contractions now. So no, you're not driving. My best friend come and got me. I'm walking around and I'm like, oh, and they started again. And they were like, period pains. So I'm like, this isn't proper labour, you know. I just need to get on with things and get stuff done. I had to go to the bank. I had to, you know, you got stuff to do. So I was just like walking around, and every time I would like make a little like noise or a little niggle, she'd be like, do not have this baby, because I am not the one. Like, I am not the person to do this with. I do not know what I would do. And then I went to my other friend's house who had just had a baby. And she was like, this was me a day before I had my baby. So she was like, you're having the baby. I hope you know this. And I was like, no, like, you know, it's fine. It's kind of stopped now. So, you know, this was kind of on and off for a couple days. And I remember it got to the Wednesday. And I was like to Viv, my best friend, I need to go get my nails done. I reckon the baby's not going to come until I get my nails done. I kept joking. I was like, look, the baby knows. Like, I'm not going to be able to get my nails done for a while after I have the baby. So it's just like the baby's letting me get my nails done first. And I had a nail appointment on Wednesday. So she come and got me and took me to the nail shop. And I was getting quite bad pains, but I was kind of just, you know, again, they were very like a really bad period. So I kind of was just acting normal, but in my head I was thinking, oh, like this is kind of cranked it up a notch. Got my nails done. She dropped me back home and they were coming regularly. They were coming like every 15 minutes, these kind of more intense pains. And she was like, I'm not going to leave you. Like, I think you're going to have the baby. And I was like, no, honestly, I'm fine. And I think in my head, what it was is that from Sunday to Wednesday, so that's Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. So like for 3 days, I've been having contractions on and off. I haven't been sleeping because I'm so uncomfortable with these on-off contractions. I'm so frustrated because I just want to have the baby now that I'm like, if I keep monitoring, I felt like when I was monitoring them and I was focusing so hard on like how long they're coming and everything, that it was just making them go. I would focus on it, it would get worse, and then it'd be like, oh no, it's nothing. So I just felt like, do you know what, forget it. When the baby comes, it's just going to come. I'm so sick of monitoring this now. So I wasn't really paying attention. And when she left, I messaged Ken and he was like, okay, no, you need to monitor them because I'm at work. The contractions didn't go. Like, they were still coming. Very bearable, very uncomfortable, like an excruciating period, but very bearable still. And again, they're spread out, so it wasn't that bad. And I remember calling Ken at 6 p.m. that day. And I was like, they are coming every 10 to 7 minutes. This is it. You need to come home from work. And he was like, what? Like, he was so like, oh my God, like, I'm going to run home right now. And I'm like, no. This is still going to be a long process. You know, they say don't even worry until it's 2 to 3 minutes apart. But I said, I felt like I wanted his support. I just wanted him there. And I was like, they are really painful now. But I was also so scared they were going to stop that I said to him, when you're on your way home, I said, I haven't eaten, I haven't cooked, I haven't done anything, I've just been in pain. When you're on your way home, get me the hottest curry, because, you know, I've heard that hot curry brings on labour, because I just didn't want them to stop. I was so scared. If they stopped, I thought, if they stop, I'm going to start crying. Even though it's painful when you want them to stop, you don't want them to stop because you just like, I can't keep going back and forth. So I said to him, get me the hottest curry that they do, and I'm literally going to eat this, and these contractions are not going to stop. Like, this needs to happen now. So he comes home, he gets me a vindaloo. I've never had a vindaloo before, but I love spicy food. This curry is hot. Like, I was drooling, and I was sitting on my, so imagine, this is me, I'm on my exercise ball. I'm like, woo, like, riding out these contractions. My whole body is hurting, and now my mouth and like everything internally is hurting because this curry is so spicy. But I ate it, and that just shows how determined I was. I was like, no, nothing is going to stop this. I'm having this baby. So I don't know if that actually did or didn't work, because I technically was already in labour, but I had a hot curry and they definitely didn't stop. So I went upstairs. I remember Ken come in the room and he said, you were like an animal. Like, I turned off all the lights. I was in the corner. I was just like moving. I was doing like my yoga poses. I did pregnancy yoga, which I would highly recommend. I was doing my breathing techniques. And by this point, I wasn't talking. So I was very inward. I was very like, I had to be silent and just deal with my pain. And I was coping really well. I was trying to do everything to just keep an active labour. And I think at this point we called the birthing centre to let them know, like, we think, you know, we're in labour. The contractions will come in every 5 minutes. So even though they were really intense, the midwife was like, no, do not come in. Like, you need to wait till they're much closer together. I was like, of the mindset is that I really, really didn't want to get sent home. I really, like, that was my worst nightmare, to get sent home. So I was like, let me try and ride it out as long as possible. I got in a hot bath, which really helped. I was in and out because then I'd get too hot and then I'd get a bit frustrated. So really, Ken was amazing in this time. I told him to try and rest. The midwife told me to try and rest. She was like, you could be in this for days. You need to sleep. And I hadn't slept in days. So I really did try and sleep. But as soon as I would lay down, the contractions were so intense. I was like, I can't, I feel like my back is breaking. So I could not lay down. I could not sleep. I just had to stand or like be on the ball or like kind of crouch or be on, I just was kind of just trying to stay mobile. At this point as well, the midwife had told Ken to just make sure I'm still eating and drinking loads and keeping my energy up. And at this point, I'd kind of really gone off. I was drinking tons of water, but I'd gone off eating. And I could tell that Ken was a bit like, come on, eat, like, you have this. And I was just like, no, leave me alone. And it got to about 5 in the morning. So in my head, I'm thinking, you've done so well, Sean. You've been going through this for days. And since it's been like really intense, like at midnight on Wednesday, you have made it till like 5 in the morning. And I'm like dying now. I'm like, I can't, I need to go in. Like, I'm having this baby. So I really thought in my heart, like, you know, I was proud of myself. I was really strong at this point. I was like, look, you're doing this. So we went in. The car journey is awful. I get to the birthing centre, and as I'm like walking out to the birthing centre, they start getting really intense. And by this point, they're coming every 5 to 3 minutes. And I know they said 2 to 3 minutes, but they were so intense. I was like, I need to go. Like, I just felt like I just had to do it. We get in, and the way I'm walking and moving and they can see my contractions, the midwife, like, she looks excited. She's like, look, there's no one here. There's no one in the whole birthing centre. You have the whole birthing centre yourself. You know, I'm really hoping that when we check you, we're going to have a baby. Like, so she was excited seeing me. I looked in a bad way. And she gets me on the thing and she's like, look, this is going to be really uncomfortable. By the way, no one really mentions this, that it is like horrible when they have to examine you. And they have to just, like, they have to stick it up there and find out how many centimetres I don't even know I don't know why I'm doing this. I don't know how they do it, but it's not nice. So I lay on the bed and I'm literally like, I told you I can't lay down. So I'm arching my back, really just uncomfortable. And then she examines me and she looks at me. And this is the look she gave me. And when she gave me that look, I was just like, and she was like, oh, honey, you're 1 centimetre dilated. I was like, what? I couldn't even speak. I was in that much pain. I was like, and I was just thinking, are you kidding me? Like, I've been doing this for days. Because some people can walk around and be 1 centimetre dilated. Like, they don't even know. It has been excruciating for like 5-6 hours now. And you're telling me I'm 1 centimetre dilated? I was like, I literally look at Ken and I was like, I can't do this. And I'm never like a negative person in life. And I was like, I can't do this. I was like, how can I be 1 centimetre? I literally was just like so shocked. She was like, go home. She was like, just try and ride it out for as long as possible. So we're going home and like so defeated. I really felt I couldn't do it. We get home by about 6 a.m. And in my head, I had a goal. I was like, I am not going back. I'm not getting sent home. So I had a goal that I was like, I can make it to midday. I don't know how I'm going to make it to midday, but if I can make it to midday, and then we'll go. And I got home and I literally got the biggest contraction and I felt like, you know, I need to go to the toilet. And I went to the toilet and then literally like I wiped and it was like, I could see like this something slimy. TMI, something slimy, and I thought, oh, that's my mucus plug, definitely gone. Brilliant, things are progressing. So I think it gave me a little bit of positivity to know that, like, okay, things are progressing. I was in and out of the bath. I was starting to get a little bit vocal at this point, not screaming. I didn't really scream at all. Just groaning, like moaning. Couldn't talk, couldn't eat. I was just really just kind of like trying to meditate. I really felt at that stage I wasn't coping very well with it. It gets to midday. So I've managed to, I don't know how, because I keep saying I can't do it, I can't do it, I can't do it. And I've managed to get to midday. And my legs are starting to shake. The contractions are coming every 3 to 4 minutes. And I was like to Ken, I don't think I can do it. He called the birthing centre and they said, no, don't come in until they're every 2 to 3 minutes. We don't want to send you home again. And I was like, are you kidding me? Like, I must be further on now. And I just wanted to be at 4. Everyone's got in their head, once you're at 4, you can go and they'll keep you in and then they'll deal with you. And I just think that I was like, I don't want to get sent home. So I don't know how I managed to do it, but I managed to ride it out until about 3, 4-ish. And I'm dying. So we get in the car. I thought the other car journey was the journey from hell. This is horrendous. Like, I can barely sit in my seat. I'm so uncomfortable. I get there, I get out the car and I'm like I'm starting to like make noises, like involuntary noises. I'm really ready to have this baby. In my head, I'm like, this is it. I go at the door, my regular midwife greets me and I was so excited. And she was like, oh my God, like I heard you came in this morning. I was hoping that you would come back today so that I could deliver your baby. And it was just such a nice vibe at the birthing centre. And she looked at me and she could tell, wow, you're having some big contractions there, right? Get you in, I'm going to examine you. So we go in the room, I vomit. And after this, I pretty much keep being sick. And she examines me. And then she looked at me and she was like, oh, you're 1 centimetre. I was like, are you, no. I was like, there's no way. I was like, my contractions have got so much worse. I thought my mucus plug had gone. I was like, I can barely stand. I'm shaking like with the pain. And this has been going on for so long now. There is no way I'm not progressing. And I feel like in that moment, they kind of made me feel like, yeah, you're not progressing. And it put this panic in me, like, am I going to have a C-section? I don't understand what's going on here. And she was like, yeah, like, people can be at 1 centimetre for like 5 days. That is not what I needed to hear at that time. I was so defeated. I just started crying. I was like, I can't do this. I can't do it. She says, have you taken anything? And I was like, I don't want to take anything. I'm not taking any. And she was like, yeah, but you know, you can take like a paracetamol or something just so that it can ease it a bit, because she was like, you need to sleep. You have no energy. You haven't slept in days. How are you going to push this baby out? We get sent away again. That is the worst feeling in the world. And I look at Ken and I'm like, get me some paracetamol. I made him just stop at a random shop to get me paracetamol. And he looked at me and he was like, I'm not giving it to you. You haven't eaten. Like, you need to eat something. And I was like, give me the paracetamol. I don't care. Give it to me. Take the paracetamol, get sick straight away. And I see the tablets come up. So I'm just like, okay, we get home. I'm like, I'm going to take another paracetamol because it didn't even go down. He was like, no, you need to eat. I tried to force myself to eat. I got sick again. Do you know what? It's pointless. There's no point in taking this. It's just going to come back up. And then I got another like massive contraction and I ran to the toilet and literally this hunk of slime just dropped out. And I was like, oh, I think that was my mucus plug. I think before it might have been a bit of it. You know, this is progression now. And by this point, it's about 6 p.m. in the evening. And ever since the mucus plug went, it was just so much worse. They were coming every 2 to 3 minutes. But again, we were on back and forth on the phone to the midwife, and they were like, no, don't come in, like, because they knew I was 1 centimetre. They were just like, no, don't bother, like, you've got ages yet. And I just felt like saying to them, I'm not that girl. Like, I'm not the girl to exaggerate. I'm not the girl that can't cope with pain. I'm not the girl that's going to be like, ouch, like, I can't do this. I've been doing this. Like, I just want to scream at someone. You don't understand, like, this is happening. Kept telling me, you know, you're not in labour. This is not active labour. You just need to go home and rest. And I couldn't do that at all. And I just kept saying to Ken, I can't do it. Like, I can't do it. And he was the most amazing birthing partner. He was quiet when I needed quiet. He put his arm around me when I needed support, and he just looked at me and he was like, babe, you are doing this. Like, you're doing this and you're doing amazingly. And I think that's what I needed to hear a little bit. And, you know, hours must have passed that I was in the bath. I just kept topping it up with hot water. And I remember thinking, I got to a point in the bath that the only reason I hadn't like got out the bath is because I physically thought, I can't get out of this bath. Like, I'm in that much pain. I can't bring myself out. So maybe about 3 hours had passed now of me being in the bath. It's around probably about 9 p.m. and I got a whopping contraction. Like, I got one to the point that I literally was laid in the bath and I pulled myself up and I screamed for Ken, and he came running in and I jumped up. I don't know why I jumped up. I just knew I needed to get up. And I got up and literally my waters broke and it just gushed out of me. And after that, the contractions come every minute. There was no like break. There was no nothing. And he called the birthing centre. I can hear him in the background like arguing with them, and he's not an argumentative person at all. And he was like, you said if her waters break she needs to come in, like, why are you telling us we need to go to the hospital? And I think that in the birthing centre's head they thought this girl hasn't progressed, it's been a very long labour and she might be safer in a hospital. Well, I don't know the reason why, but they didn't want to have me there. And I was like, shut up, we're going to the hospital. I don't care that because he knew I really didn't want to go to a hospital. And I said, it's fine, we're going to the hospital, we're going, I just need to go. Finally get in the car. Car ride I can only describe as demonic. I don't know how Ken drove. I don't know how he drove. I was all over the car. Like, I had my seatbelt on, but I was literally like moving around, shouting. I could not deal. And I kept saying, like, this is it. Like, this is it now. So we get to the hospital. It's Newham. Newham also has a birthing centre. By the time we get there, it's probably nearer 10. And park in the car park, and because it's night time, a lot of the usual entry points are closed. So you know when you have to like walk around all the side of the hospital and like to get in, and I literally had to walk. Ken was like, should I go and get someone? But I was so scared. I was like, don't leave me, like, don't leave me. And I was literally holding him, and it probably took us like a good 15 minutes just to walk into the hospital and get to the birthing centre bit. I get to the reception and I'm literally shouting. I'm not screaming. I'm shouting. I'm like, oh, like I'm just like crazy woman. I'm like, I need something. I was like, get me the gas and air. I need something. I like, literally, the receptionist looks at me and she's like, oh my God, this woman's going to have her baby. Like, I was at that stage. I can't even remember how I hoped. I just did. And I kept saying to her, I need the gas and air. I need the gas and air. And that's the only thing I really wanted to take in my whole labour. And she looks at me and she's like, all the midwives are busy. And I was like, what? And she was like, I need to get someone to assess you now. And I was like, yeah. So I was stood at the reception. She was calling, like she was panicking. She's thinking, this woman's going to have the baby on the floor here. And it's half an hour before someone actually sees me. Like, I'm literally standing in the reception because I can't sit, I can't move, I can't do anything. I'm just in that much pain. So finally, someone comes to get me. And I think at this stage, I wasn't even thinking like I'm having the baby. I was just like, I can't deal with this. Give me some gas and air. I need something. I kept saying to her, I need the gas and air. So she's like, okay, let's examine you first. And I told her like my waters have gone. And she was like, okay, we need to check if your waters have gone. And they tell me that my waters have gone, which I was like, yeah, I knew that. And then she examines me. I don't even know how many centimetres I'm hoping or thinking to be. I just want to hear some sort of progression. And then she looks at me and she's like, oh, you're 2 centimetres dilated. Well, that was it. I was hysterical. I was like sobbing. I was like, you can't send me home. You can't send me home. You can't send me home. I was like, I'm not going home. I can't do this. I can't do this. I can't do this. I was hysterical. And she calmed me down. Like, honestly, in Newham, the midwives were amazing. She calmed me down. She got me off the bed and she was just like, don't worry, like, you know, we're not going to send you home. Just let me sort this out. She's gone and, you know, got another midwife in, and this senior midwife just looks at me and she's like, I don't know, like, I feel like she could have the baby soon. I don't know, I've just got a feeling about her. Like, let's keep her in. So they've gone to find me a room, and all of a sudden I stand up and my body does this thing, and honestly, the only way I can describe it is like a backwards vomit. It's like literally just like my whole body just urges and pushes down, like I can't even stop it. Like, you know, like when you're going to be sick and no matter what, it's going to come up. Like, that is what it felt like, but downwards. And literally my whole body just pushed, and I was like, oh my God, what's happening? And then the scary part was that blood gushed out when I was doing that. So obviously Ken literally hits the buzzer. He runs to go get the midwives. He's like, she's pushing, there's blood, like, you need to come in. And they come in and they're like, stop pushing, stop pushing, stop pushing. You're only 2 centimetres dilated. And I'm like, I'm not pushing, my body's pushing. They're like, no, you need to calm down, you're pushing. And I'm like, no, I'm not pushing. I swear to you, I'm not pushing. And then I'd be like, like literally, like every minute these contractions were coming, and I was just, my body was just doing it. And after they watched me for a couple of minutes, realizing these contractions are coming every minute, she's not trying to do this. They were like, you need to breathe and slow down the pushing or stop the pushing. I was like, I can't, my body's doing this, like, this is my body. And they were like, you don't understand. You are 2 centimetres dilated. You were going to damage yourself. You need to stop pushing. And I was just so worked up because I was like, my body's doing this. I'm not doing this. I'm in so much pain. I can't do this. And then you know, I was like to the midwife, just give me some gas in air to calm down. And she kind of looked at me and she was like, listen, I think we need to give you a pethidine. And I was like, I had on my birth plan not to offer me any drugs. So obviously she was telling me, I think we need to give you one because, and I was like, no, I don't want to hear it. I'm not having any drugs. And Ken was kind of like, oh, because like he could just see it was a scary situation. Every time my body was pushing, there was blood kind of coming out. I was only 2 centimetres dilated. It had been about 24 hours at this stage. So it's probably about midnight from the night before is when it kind of really kicked up a gear. And I'm just pure exhausted. And I think he was just like, listen to what they have to say. And she basically sat me down and she was just kind of like really calming, and she was amazing because honestly I was really hysterical at this point. She was like, your body is pushing, you were 2 centimetres dilated and you're going to damage yourself. If we give you a pethidine, it's going to help your muscles relax, it's going to help you relax and you calm down and get some good rest, and your body's not going to be pushing against the cervix. And at this moment, that's what your body is doing. And she was like, you know, when we relax the muscles, you might be able to get a bit of a rest. And then when you're ready, she was like, it'll wear off. And when you're ready and your body's ready, we can get you to push, and you'll have loads of energy because you're pushing at the right time, not the wrong time. And when she kind of broke it down like that for me, and I kind of stepped back and saw the blood and everything, and I was just like, wow, like this is really scary, and I've got to trust these people. So, you know, I said to her, that's fine. Okay, I'll take the Pethidine. And then she decided to explain to me that because I was only 2 centimetres dilated, they couldn't technically administer anything because midwives are allowed from 4 centimetres when they keep you in. And because they were keeping me in and I wasn't 4 centimetres, they had to go get a doctor to administer. And it was the middle of the night. So they were just like, this might take a while. So in one breath, I've said no to completely like having any drugs other than I wanted to have the gas and air just to calm myself down. And I then said yes to having this Pethidine because I'm really scared about pushing against my cervix, and something wasn't quite right at that moment with the blood. And then they've basically told me that I'm going to have to now wait for this. And any woman that's laboured, once you've accepted that you were going to take something, you want it that second. You're like, no, I'm not waiting. So they found me a room, and I was like, come on, like I need this Pethidine. Like my body's still pushing. The whole time I'm like, like it's so funny that I'm describing it like that, but I hope someone out there who has been through labour knows what I'm talking about. It's like your whole body's just like urging downwards, and there was just like so much pressure I could barely walk. And they finally get me a room. Ken's literally livid. It's so funny because if you know him, he is not like a confrontational or like aggressive person. He's livid. He's banging on that buzzer. He's like, you said she needs this Pethidine to stop her pushing. She's still pushing. And honest to God, I couldn't sit. I couldn't nothing. I just stood there. I was just there like riding out, like the contraction coming every minute. My body was still pushing. He was going to me, please try and breathe, don't push. They finally come back. It's an hour later. Needs to give me an anti-sickness injection because I was constantly being sick, and they needed me to keep down some fluids if I was going to make it through this like long labour, even though I've already had a long labour in my eyes. And they've finally got the Pethidine, and she gets me to lay on the bed, and she jabs me in the leg with the anti-sickness, and then she jabs me with the Pethidine. Now she looks at me and she's like, hun, like, you know, this is going to take a good 30 minutes to kick in. You know, you need to just ride it out until then, and then you can get some rest. And as she says that, I get another massive contraction, and obviously I'm on the bed with like my legs up, and she kind of looks as I'm doing it, and she went, let me look, like she went, do that again. And I was like, I'm not doing anything, my body's doing it. And the next contraction comes on and she's opened my legs and she's having a look, and she's like, and she looks at Ken and she's like, the baby's coming. And I was like, what? And like literally I felt like, oh my God, finally, like I thought like no one believed me that I was having this baby. Like literally I could feel my body pushing this baby out, and apparently my cervix had gone from 2 to like ready to have the baby in a matter of must be minutes. They looked on my birth plan and it said I wanted to have a water birth, so she was like, oh my God, fill up the tub. Now another midwife just rushes in and they're like, we're not going to be able to fill it up in time. And I'm just literally there like, what is going on? Like this went from 0 to 100 real quick. In my head I was at 100 ready to have the baby, but everyone was telling me, no, you're not in labour, you're not even 4 centimetres dilated, you need to calm down. And obviously they did the right thing by, you know, I was pushing against my cervix, which in that moment they had to do what they thought was right, but clearly that's how my body works because I was ready to go. I was like, oh my God, like what do we do? So then the other midwife shouts across, quickly come across the hall, because there was another room where she'd already filled up half the tub, and literally they just carted me across. Ken was like sprinting back and forth because I was keeping my placenta to have it encapsulated, so he had to run and get the placenta kit and bring everything across. And I was literally like, can I get in the water? Can I get in the water? And I literally get in the water, and it is like the best feeling ever. I mean, it was almost not enough time for me to get in the water. They made it happen, and I honestly am so grateful for those midwives making that happen because it was really important for me to try and have a water birth. And I got in the water and straight away I felt so much better. I felt like a lot of the pain was like alleviated. And the midwife kind of looks at me and she's like, listen, this Pethidine isn't going to kick in. You really, really need to get this baby out. So the way she was saying it, and because I had so much panic that I wasn't progressing for so many hours, for 24 hours I was still at 2 centimeters. I had this in the back of my head, I had this worry about having a C-section if I don't progress and my cervix doesn't open. So when she said, like, you need to get this baby out, I was like, okay, so can I push? Like, she's probably looking at me like, you are pushing, like, I can see your body pushing, but like, I wasn't actually pushing. She was like, yes, on the next contraction, push. So literally, Ken describes it as, in between the contractions, he was like, I was dead. I was a zombie. I was like head down. He didn't even know if I was breathing, whatever. He just said I was dead. And then all of a sudden the contraction come and I was like an animal. I was like, ah! I was like bearing down with everything I had. And I just see Ken look in the water and he's like, oh my God, what is that? And I'm thinking, oh my God, have I pooed myself? Like, I heard these things happen. And then the midwife was like, no, that's the hair. And I was like, the hair? And I like try and look down, and literally on the next contraction, I like push and give it my all. And I'm not going to lie, towards the end of the contraction, I felt like I probably could have pushed that a little bit more. Like, you know, right at the end of your contraction, you can give an extra push. But I was so scared because I just felt this burning ring of fire that I was like, no, like, I'm waiting for the next one. And I looked down and the head had crowned, and literally there was all this hair kind of floating in the water. And I was just like, oh my, it was so surreal. I was just like, I can't believe I'm doing this. And this part for me was so much easier than the actual contractions and the build up and the long ass labour that I had, because I was getting somewhere. I was getting this baby out, and it didn't matter how painful it was. I was going for it. Next contraction comes, I literally get the head out, and I'm like, I'm just looking down like, oh my God, like, I'm doing this. I'm actually doing this. Next contraction, literally, I had these 2 midwives and they are like shouting at me like, you are gonna get this baby out. Push into your bum. It was the best motivation. Like, it was amazing. And then Ken starts joining in with him. He's like, push into your bum. And literally the next push, I just like give it everything. And the baby comes out face down, floats there, and turns to face me. It's the most magical thing. Just floats up and kind of swims towards me. And like my instincts kick in and I grab the baby up and I'm like, oh my God, my baby, my baby. And the cord was a little bit like caught. So the midwife quickly come and like sorted it out. And I didn't even look at the gender. Like, we didn't know the gender of the baby. And Ken just shouts, it's a boy. And I was like, oh my God, like, I've had this baby. And I look up at the midwives and they're laughing, like they're high-fiving the 2 midwives. And they're like to me, how did you do that for a first timer? You pushed that baby out in 3 contractions. They were like, you are amazing. And I was like, you told me I had to. Like, I thought, like, I needed to push the baby out or something was going to happen. And they were like, honey, we tell everyone that, like, you were amazing. Then next thing, another midwife runs in and she's like, oh my God, I went on my break. I wanted to deliver your baby and they said you were 2 centimeters and you've had the baby. Oh my God, you're amazing. So they were all high-fiving and hugging me. And it was the most amazing feeling. Like, when you have your baby, that moment you have your baby is pure, like, euphoric feeling. Like, honestly, I can't describe it. No drug, no nothing can compare. Like, it is addictive. Like, I want to have another baby because of that feeling. So that being said, and all of that craziness, and I literally have like midwives rushing in like high-fiving. They were like, you could have 5 babies. Like, some women are hours pushing. And I just couldn't believe it, because I was just like thinking, everyone told me I am not in labour, and I was in labour. Like, I knew it. My body was pushing. I went with it. And in a way, I was so, so grateful, because the midwife turned to me and she was like, you know what? The most amazing thing about that pethidine is, she was like, your baby's come out wide awake, and now when that pethidine kicks in, you're going to have the most amazing sleep. And I think because I've really wanted to do things naturally, I was really actually happy that the way it worked out, like, it was meant to be. Like, literally as soon as I got that injection, my body was like, right, we're getting this baby out. And it was so crazy, because I remember turning to the midwife, because I did tear when Elvis was born. I then remember turning to the midwife like, can I have gas and air? Like, I really wanted the gas and air. And then I realised, like, I hadn't even had time to have gas and air. And she was like, oh, of course you can have it. So, like, while I was getting stitched up, which, you know, is not nice, but had the gas and air and I felt amazing. And Ken had some skin to skin with baby Elvis. And it was just like I blinked, and the last part of my labour was so, so quick. The whole build-up was like days, and then it was just like 0 to 100, and I couldn't quite take it all in. Oh,
my son. I knew it was a boy. I told you.
Well done, babe.
When you meet your baby, it's just like the best feeling ever. Like I cannot describe it. Unless you've had a baby, you just will not know that feeling. And for me, I know that this story, I remember when I was watching videos that hearing about a long labour alone would just put you off and just be so scary. And I've been completely real in this, and it was horrible. And I really didn't think it was going to be as bad as it was. But I just want to say that no matter how bad it is, you can do it. Like, you are amazing. You are made to do this. And, you know, I didn't even bloody get the gas and air in the end, and I done it. You know, you think you can't do it and you keep saying you can't do it, but you will do it, and you can do it. And one way or another, that baby's going to come out. And when that baby does come out, it is so worth it. That feeling, I would just have more and more. But I mean, I don't know how many babies, but I would have more just to feel that feeling. Obviously, to have more kids as well. But like, just honestly, that feeling is just so amazing after you have the baby. And I can't explain how thankful I am for my midwives, because really and truly, if that senior midwife did not come in and say, do you know what, keep her in, I think she's going to go, like, I think, you know, this baby's coming. If they hadn't have done that, I would have had the baby at home or in the car, because from me being told I was 2 centimetres dilated, I went to 10 in like minutes. It must have been. And obviously that isn't normal and that isn't textbook. But, you know, I feel like maybe that I would know that about my body and trust my body. And if my body's telling me that I need to push, like, I know the baby's coming, and that it doesn't matter if it says I'm 2 centimetres. So I would also say, if you're watching this and then they tell you at some point that you're only this or you're only that many centimetres, don't worry, because you might not be textbook. You might go from that to that extremely fast, like how I did. I was so glad that I ended up in Newham as well, because for me, you know, I was born in Newham, so was Ken, and I just felt like it was meant to be. Like, I wasn't meant to go to that other birthing centre. I had a really good experience in it. And I know for a fact that if I went to the other birthing centre, they would have probably turned around and turned me away at 2 centimetres. And also, it's so amazing for me that those midwives, you know, they could have just said, look, we've got to deliver the baby right now. But they made my wishes come true. They made sure that I had water birth. They made sure that there was not too much intervention and they didn't really get involved. I, like, picked up my own baby out of the water. Like, it was just insane. And I really got the kind of birth in the end that I wanted. So 26 hours of labour, it wasn't easy, but honestly I would do it all again. And I hope that this labour and delivery story wasn't too scary for you, and I'm so glad that I can share my story with you. And it's so weird, the hormones just take over you, because even now it doesn't seem as bad as it was. So if you were pregnant, I'm wishing you a happy and healthy journey. If you've just had a baby or you're curious and you're a fellow mum, then thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel. I'm going to be doing more videos like this. And I know this was a long one, but what can I do? I had a long labour. Say bye, guys. Thanks for watching.